The saloon doors creaked under the weight of dust and silence, a rare hush in a town that thrived on noise, whiskey, and hard luck. That night the piano had stilled, the card tables emptied, and every set of eyes followed the figure of a woman who stumbled in from the street. Her dress was torn at the hem, her hair a tangle of wind and sorrow, and in her arms she clutched a baby swaddled in rags. The child's weak whimpers broke through the quiet like the cry of something half-drowned, fighting to live. Nobody knew her name, nobody cared. Out here, women without men were as good as ghosts, half seen, barely spoken to, more burden than blessing. She held her baby close to her chest, and when a drunken ranch hand reached for her shoulder, she whispered through cracked lips, "Don't touch me, I'm broken." He laughed, shrugged, and backed away. She moved past the staring eyes, past the smoke, past the whisper of gamblers who muttered she wouldn't last a week. She dropped into a chair in the corner and rocked her baby, not singing, not speaking, just rocking, as if the motion itself could stitch the world back together. The door opened again, and this time the silence shifted. A man stepped in, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing dust on his coat and a colt at his side. His face was carved with quiet lines, his eyes steady and unreadable. Folks called him Caleb Rourke, the rancher who lived on the edge of the mesa, where the wind howled and no woman had ever stayed longer than a season. He didn't gamble, didn't drink, didn't smile. He saw the woman, and she saw him. The barkeep muttered, "Rourke, she's trouble. Ain't yours to carry." But Caleb didn't answer. He crossed the room, boots sounding like the ticking of a clock, slow and measured. When he reached her, the woman flinched as if struck. She'd pulled the baby tighter, her knuckles white. "Don't," she whispered again, voice splintered. "Don't touch me." Caleb said nothing. Instead, he lowered himself onto the chair beside her, not close, not far. He held out his hands, not to her, but to the child. The woman stared, trembling, as if the offer itself was too much. But the baby's cries grew sharper, thin as broken glass. She hesitated, then, with hands that shook like leaves, she placed the child in his arms. And the town saw something they had never seen before. The hard rancher, the man who never spoke, cradled that child as if it were made of glass and fire. He rocked it slow, steady, like he'd been doing it all his life. The baby quieted, soft breaths slipping into sleep. The saloon's air broke in a sigh no one realized they'd been holding. The woman pressed her hands to her face. Silent tears leaked through her fingers. "Who hurt you?" someone whispered from the corner. No answer came, but the bruises on her arms spoke, and the shadows beneath her eyes told the rest. Caleb rose, baby against his chest, and turned to leave. The woman gasped, half rising as if he meant to take the child from her. He paused, looked down at her, and for the first time spoke. His voice was low, gravel wrapped in calm. "Come," and she followed. The road to his ranch was long and empty, broken only by the crunch of gravel beneath hooves and the sound of the baby's soft breathing. She rode behind him on his horse, clutching his coat with one hand, the other never leaving her child. The stars stretched overhead, vast and merciless. At the cabin, he helped her down but did not touch her. He lit the lantern inside, showing her the small world he kept. A single room, a rough-hewn table, a bed of cedar planks, a fire that never seemed to die. She stood uncertain, clutching the baby as though someone might snatch him away. "You can sleep," Caleb said simply. Her eyes flicked to the bed, then, to him, fear blooming across her face. "No," she whispered. "No, I told you. I'm broken, I can't." But he didn't ask. He spread a blanket on the floor near the fire and laid himself down, boots still on, hat over his eyes. The bed remained empty. For the first time in weeks, she slept. The next morning, the baby's cries woke them both. Caleb rose before she could, lifted the child with care, and held him until he settled. The woman sat up, eyes wide with disbelief. She had not known a man who could hold a child without violence or impatience. Days blurred into nights. Caleb worked the land, mended fences, hauled water. She stayed inside, feeding the baby, staring out the window at the white horizon. When he returned each evening, he always took the child first, giving her a moment to breathe. He never asked her past, never demanded her trust. He just stayed, but the town had not forgotten. One evening, as Caleb tied his horse at the mercantile, 3 men leaned against the post. Rough men, ranch hands with whiskey on their breath and cruelty in their eyes. She was mine, one sneered. Ran off 'cause she thought she could do better. You keep her, Rourke, but no, she's spoiled goods. Caleb's jaw tightened. He didn't speak, didn't move, until the man reached out, shoving his shoulder. Then, in a buller, Caleb's fist struck. The man went down hard, teeth clattering against the dirt. The others reached for their guns. Caleb's Colt was already drawn. No, he said, voice like a storm rolling over the plains. She's no one's but her own. The men backed off, muttering curses, spitting blood. But the message spread. That night, when he returned to the cabin, the woman saw the bruise on his knuckles. She trembled, fearing the violence might one day turn on her. But Caleb only washed his hands in the basin, quiet as always. Finally, she whispered, Why? Why are you doing this? I told you I'm broken. He glanced at the baby in the cradle, then at her. His silence stretched long before he answered. Some things don't need fixing. They just need holding. Her throat tightened. She wanted to believe him, but belief was dangerous. Weeks turned to months. Winter settled heavy on the land, snow drifting against the cabin walls. Inside, warmth grew, not from the fire, but from the quiet rhythm of days lived together. She began to smile again, small and fleeting, when the baby laughed. Caleb never spoke of love, never touched her without need. Yet when the baby's first word came, Ma, he was the one who lifted the boy high, pride unspoken but blazing in his eyes. The woman began to hum at night, soft tunes she thought she had forgotten. But the past was not finished with her. One storm-lashed evening, the door banged open. The same men from town stood there, guns gleaming in lantern light. Their leader sneered, eyes fixed on her. Time to come home, girl. She froze, heart hammering, baby clutched to her chest. Caleb stepped forward, blocking their view. His voice was steel. She's home. Gunfire cracked the air. The cabin shook with thunder and smoke. Caleb fired back, each shot deliberate, deadly. When the smoke cleared, two men lay in the snow, and the last stumbled away, bleeding into the night. The woman sank to the floor, sobbing, clutching her baby. Caleb stood over her, chest heaving, eyes dark. He had killed for her. And yet, when he turned back, his hands trembled, not from rage but from fear. He knelt, laying his gun aside, and touched her shoulder lightly. You're safe. She looked up at him, tears blurring her vision. For the first time, she did not pull away. I'm not broken, she whispered, voice shaking. Not if you're here. Caleb didn't answer with words. Instead, he reached for the baby, rocking him in his arms until sleep came once more. And in that silence, in that rocking, something whole was born between them. Something no storm, no man, no past could shatter again.